If you do 50 questions, right, prep questions, but you do them in the right order, that's enough. You don't need to do 300 problems because the chances are you're doing 300 problems because you're doing them in a random order. And because you're doing them in a random order, you don't get any structure to your learning, so you're not retaining, which causes you to think you need to do more problems. That's just not the case. Here's why 300 questions or 300 random problems on LeetCode doesn't work. What you're doing when you do that is you're trying to memorize answers to questions, and then you're hoping you see that question on the interview round. But the interview round isn't going to give you a problem that you've seen before. It's happened, don't get me wrong. You probably have friends that have told you that has happened, but it's not the norm. It happens 2 to 3% of the time. And that's not what you want to bank on when you're getting ready for these interviews. So what you need to learn is you need to learn mental frameworks for how to approach specific problems on the Python interview round and teach them and think about them as categories, right? And so, for example, hey, a hash map solves this type of problem. A sliding window solves this type of problem, right? When does a two-pointer apply, right? So when you can bucket and categorize the type of problems that you'll see, then you can study in a structured way. One of our clients came to us. They had done 200 questions over the last 6 months before speaking to us, passed 0 screens. Then we structured his prep. He got 50 targeted problems by category. And let's say we had 5 categories, right? And so with those, that's 10 problems in each category, 50 questions in total. She had 6 offers in 2 weeks after they actually started to do the interview rounds. That's the power of doing front loading all the hard work so you can get more offers later on. So here's the lesson. Cap your Python prep work at 50 questions, but categorize the work beforehand. So I'll help you out a little bit. Do arrays, do strings, do hash maps, do design. Those are 4 categories that are important, and that's enough for now. One category at a time until you start to recognize the pattern, right? And then once you recognize the pattern, then your skill set to recognize how to solve questions become automatic and effortless. So learn the framework first, then practice against a specific framework in the right order, not against a specific answer. You're not going to memorize 300 problems. Point number 3, the 6-box grading system that interviewers actually use. So here's the thing. Most candidates think that Python is binary, meaning either you get the question wrong or you get the question right. And yes, getting the question right, super important, but it's not actually the only thing that matters, because a wrong answer equals out. If you get the answer wrong, you're out. But if you get the answer right, have you ever noticed that you don't necessarily pass on to the next interview round every single time? So the question is, why? And the thing is, they're running you through a checklist that for the most part can be summarized in these 6 bullet points that I'm about to give you. Box 1, yes, is the question correct? Yes or no, that matters, and that's obvious. You already know that. So question 2, do you actually know the language, right? So it's not, can I arrive to the right answer because I memorized the answer to a problem? It's, hey, this person can clearly use Python and then manipulate Python and then write different forms of the same answer using Python. Cool. It's clear that they know the Python language. So number 3, are you talking out loud during the actual interview? If you can write out loud and explain your approach, then A, it shows them that you have good communication skills and it's probably somebody they want to work with. And B, it actually shows them you understand what you're doing, which affirms or reaffirms the thought that they have in their head, which is, does this person actually know what they're doing, or did they just memorize it from a book or from a LeetCode question? And if you can demonstrate that you can speak out loud and talk about what it is you're doing, you'll come off way better in the interview. Number 4, is your code clean? And so messy, hard to read code is almost an automatic out. And the reason is because in the real world, when you're working with 6 different people on your team across 6 different companies and cross-collaborating and etc., they know that in the real world, you're gonna have to show your code to other engineers and they're gonna have to understand what you did. And if your code is messy or hard to follow on the interview, that is an X and you will probably not check that box. Box number 5, are you reiterating through the problem? And so what I mean by that is, are you writing a chunk of code, running it, make sure that it works, and then continue writing the rest of your code? A lot of people will stay silent, which again is bad because of box number 3, and then write all the code and then test it at the very end only to find out they messed up somewhere. And then this makes it really hard for you to debug, which makes it really hard for you to think out loud, and you start to get in an antsy mood and your brain freezes during the interview. And then box number 6, can you actually handle some edge cases at the end of the interview? Once you finish your code, let's say you got it right, let's say you did everything else right, your interviewer will test how deep your knowledge is within that framework by asking you specific edge cases to see if you can come up with variations of your code to make sure that they can answer those edge cases. And so with that, there's one thing that I call the 3.5 rule, which is out of those 6 boxes, if you can ace 3.5 to 4 out of the 6, you're good. You'll probably pass the round.